The deck jolts under a rush of pounding footsteps. Not the crew's, someone else's. Heavy steps tear across the steel like a blade. A figure bursts forward, a scarf snapping in the wind, sun-scorched face, short curly hair in a messy knot. He raises a gun like a hammer and roars. A single shout that freezes the entire deck. Down! Behind him, more men spill over, then more, then more. At the ship's edge, rope ladders still swing, lines still hiss from the pull that dragged them up seconds ago. In a few heartbeats, the deck no longer belongs to working sailors. It's taken, locked, controlled, by yelling, by muzzles, by eyes colder than steel. A sailor turns to run. He's cut off instantly. No shot needed. One step in, a bark in his face, and the barrel drops to chest level. He stops, hands up. Sweat breaks out even as the sea wind bites. The rest are herded together, backs pressed to the rail. Someone stammers a plea. Someone clamps their jaws shut. No one plays hero. Out here, because at sea, one wrong move and the price is paid immediately. The leader scans like a hunter. He doesn't look at the sky. He doesn't look at the water. He looks at the only thing that matters. The path to the bridge. A quick nod. A team breaks off and sprints forward. Metal slams. A door is kicked. A radio crackles, then gets ripped away. Everything happens so fast you don't even understand what you just lost, until you realize you've lost it all. And only then does your mind finally zoom out. Only then do you see what they've climbed onto. This isn't a normal ship. This is a monster, a floating block of steel. The deck stretches like a road, pipes snake like veins. The engine's growl deep in the hull sounds like a caged beast. Where do you run on something this huge? Where do you hide on an open deck when a gunman only needs the right position to own your entire world? Another pirate yanks a scarf over his face, growls, points his weapon, silent command, absolute stillness. They don't need many words. They only need the crew to understand one truth. From this second on, the deck is theirs, the bridge is the target, and people are leverage. You think this is a movie scene? No, this is a real case. In 2008, on the Indian Ocean off East Africa, a supertanker named Sirius Star is seized by Somali pirates. So far from shore, people once believed no one could reach it. But they did. They boarded. And they made the entire world hold its breath. Because Sirius Star isn't just a ship. It's a symbol, a massive oil supertanker carrying an enormous load, like a moving fuel vault on the sea. Once something that big is taken, this stops being "pirates want money." It becomes a punch to global confidence in maritime safety. It forces one brutal question. If a monster like this can be captured, what's actually safe? On deck, the crew are pinned down, controlled. Panicked eyes meet as if asking, who missed the warning? Who saw too late? But that question is useless now, because the ship's fate, speed, course, everything, now sits in the hands of the men who climbed up on rope ladders, and out on the horizon, faint gray shapes begin to appear, not storm clouds, not mist, warships, far enough to watch, but not close enough to gamble. Because there are people on that deck. If anyone makes the wrong move, the first to pay won't be the pirates, it will be the unarmed. And that's when the real game begins. Pirates with guns, forces watching from a distance, and in between, one steel monster of a ship with human lives trapped on its deck like living chess pieces. But the core question hits like a nail. How did they do it? How did a pirate crew reach and seize a supertanker at that distance? And why, despite warships out there, can't anyone end this immediately? Right now, we rewind to the minutes before the ladder hooked the rail. Because on the open sea, one tiny gap can become a global nightmare. We rewind to the moment Sirius Star is still moving like any ordinary voyage. Wide sea, clear sky, an empty horizon that invites complacency. On deck, the rhythm of engines, the rhythm of wind, the rhythm of watch shifts. No one thinks that out there. Eyes are waiting, hunters timing the second their prey crosses the line. Then, a strange engine note appears. At first, it's barely there, like a distant swarm. But at sea, any wrong sound is an alarm. A sailor leans to look over the water, a thin white wake, then a second. and seconds later, two small boats explode into view along the ship's side, low, fast, stubborn, slicing the ocean like knives. They don't need many men. They need the right speed, the right angle, and the exact moment when a supertanker can't react like a small ship. A giant vessel doesn't turn in seconds. It turns like a building, slow and heavy. Meaning, the moment you can clearly see the boats, you've already lost the ability to respond fast. The skiffs surge tight along the hull. Shouts rise, short, harsh commands. Hands throw lines. Hooks bite the rail. A rope ladder whips up and slams against steel. One man climbs first, so fast it looks like he's pulled by wind. Second man, third. The climb is a rhythm, grip, pull, step, over. On deck, the crew run out, just in time to see a head pop above the rail, and the instant the first pirate's boot hits the deck, everything shifts into a new speed. This is no longer approach. This is takeover. The leader doesn't pause to celebrate. He runs straight forward. His eyes don't track the sea. They lock on the door toward the control area. He knows the simplest truth. To own the ship, you own its brain. Get close to the bridge, pressure the right people in the right place, and the steel monster will go wherever you want, no matter where it is on the ocean. A sailor reaches for the radio. Before he can press anything, he's shoved hard. The radio hits the deck and skids away. Another pirate snatches it and hurls it into the sea like throwing away a lifeline. On deck, they start collecting people, like cargo. Push, pin, force to knees, force hands up. No need to fire, only to make one reality clear. Fight back, and you pay first. The most terrifying moment is when they use the crew to lock every option. Once hostages are under control, every response, warships, helicopters, security teams, gets tied up by one question: will you shoot if innocent people are right there? And just like that, within minutes, Sirius Star goes from a ship in transit to a ship captured, from crew in control to crew controlled, from planned route to forced course. Then the thing that chills the world happens. The ship changes heading. Not a gentle shift. An announcement. A steel monster veers off the safe lane, dragging behind it a fear that spreads across the sea like an oil slick. Out there, communication lines ignite. Someone sees it, someone reports, someone tracks on radar. But on the ocean, information moves fast. Action can't be reckless, because reckless action doesn't just fail. It becomes tragedy. And the pirates take the second step. They start pulling the ship toward their home ground, toward a place where they can anchor, shield, call reinforcements, and turn Sirius Star into a gigantic hostage. A hostage the world must pay for. You think the peak was the climb? No, that was only the opening. The real terror is what comes after. Days of being held, negotiated, priced, where every hour tightens the wire like it's about to snap. And that's the turning point. Once they hold the ship, everything becomes one question. Who breaks first? The pirates, the Navy, or a world holding its breath? Knowing one wrong decision can push this off a cliff. Next, we enter the phase where the world truly freezes. The distant shadowing, the ransom demands, and the biggest trap Somali pirates use. A trap that doesn't need gunfire, but forces everyone else to tie their own hands. Sirius Star disappears from its normal route and reappears inside a different picture. Warships on the horizon, binoculars locked in, radios hissing through the night, and one cold truth: the world can see it, but no one dares to rush it. On deck, the pirates stop running. They start fortifying. They take positions like guards. One team holds the crew, one watches the bridge access, one stands high to scan the sea. The guns don't need to fire. The muzzle only needs to point the right way, and people fall silent. The crew sit pressed together, backs against cold steel, eyes asking, how long? But no one has an answer. Far away, the gray silhouettes keep their distance. They don't come in like the movies. They circle, they shadow, they watch, they log every movement. Because on the ocean, one bad assault isn't just failure, it's catastrophe. A supertanker isn't a room you storm. It's a maze of steel and pipes. You can't shoot freely. You can't rush blindly. And you can't risk turning a hostage crisis into something no one can control. Right here, Somali pirates reveal their real weapon, time. They stretch it, they hold the rhythm, they grind everyone down, slowly, relentlessly. Days pass, nights pass. On deck, the crew can't sleep deeply. The moment someone dozes off, a shout snaps them awake. The moment someone stands, a barrel swings their way. No need to beat them, just make them understand.
Stay awake.
You have no rights here. Then comes the first stone thrown into the water. Money. No one speaks in emotion now. Everything becomes bargaining. The pirates want ransom. Everyone else wants people alive and the ship released. Every word weighs tons because behind it are human lives, reputations, money, maritime security, and the fear of a domino effect. If this is paid easily, the next cases will multiply. You think the most tense part is the demand? No, the most tense part is when the ship is pulled closer towards Somalia, into a zone where things get harder to predict. There, the pirates can call more men, build a human shield, surround the tanker with small boats, and turn rescue into a suicide bet. Once the ship is near their ground, it stops being a ship at sea. It becomes a hostage placed right in front of people who are ready to treat it like a wager. During the captivity, the worst thing isn't gunfire. It's the long silence that drives you insane. Silence before each call. Silence in the dark. Silence while footsteps pass behind you. Silence when you don't know if help is coming or if everything is being delayed for the right price. And outside, the world gets dragged into that same tension. Many people don't care about one ship far away until the words "oil supertanker" hit the news. Oil is a lifeline. Sea lanes are arteries. A shock at sea spreads fast, without any oil spilling at all. All it takes is fear. So every decision gets judged. Every side must balance save lives against don't set precedent. Balance act against don't ignite disaster. Balance bring the ship back against don't push the situation into something worse. On deck, the pirates increase pressure without doing anything flashy. They only need to show power, change guards, shift positions, raise voices, slam a rifle butt onto steel so the sound echoes straight into the crew's skull. Even a single sharp noise can make hearts jump. By now, the crew stop counting hours. They count thirst. They count water rations. They count how often they're allowed to stand. They count sky changes to guess the date. And the longer it drags, the more dangerous one thing becomes. A psychological break, one panic, one dash, one wrong reaction, and the deck could erupt into chaos, which is why the forces outside still can't hit fast. They must wait, track, calculate, negotiate, and through it all, the pirates keep their advantage. They're on the ship. They hold hostages. They control the pace of the crisis. Then, finally, information starts to sharpen. The situation is moving toward a closing day. A day money is dropped. A day the ship could be released. A day the world wants it to end, but fears that if it ends the wrong way, it becomes catastrophe. And now we enter the coldest knot of all, the ransom exchange. No victory music, no heroic charge, only sea wind, locked eyes, and one drop that decides the fate of a steel monster and the people trapped on its deck. The wind screams through the railings. The deck is ice cold. And after nearly 2 months under control, Sirius Star reaches the moment the world has waited for, yet feared the most, the deal. Out on the water, a black speck appears, then grows, not a storm, not birds. A distant delivery, quiet, controlled. No sirens, no flares, only wind and a thin thread of engine noise. Below deck, the crew holds their breath. On deck, the 7 Somali pirates spread out, eyes glued upward. The scarfed leader signals. 2 men block the path with rifles, like one twitch could set the whole thing off. Then the package drops. A hard, dry thud as it hits steel. Every heart jolts. The pirates surge like wolves circling tight. No one dares speak. No one dares breathe loud. Because right here, one misunderstanding can turn negotiation into tragedy in a single beat. The leader crouches, zips it open, flips fast. His eyes scan like a machine. Another pirate covers his back, staring out. To sea. The rest lock positions, guns still aimed down, but the grip isn't as tight as before, because now they're counting, right or wrong, enough or short. Silence, long enough to choke. Then the leader lifts his head. No cheering, no laughter, just a tiny nod, like stamping the end of the scene. And in that second, you see the scary truth. The pirates don't need a glorious victory. They only need not to lose. If they leave the ship with the money, they win this round. They begin to withdraw, not in chaos, but like a rehearsed team. One by one, they move toward the rail. The ladder drops. A small skiff waits below. Engines snap alive, sharp, urgent. Minutes later, their shadows slip away from the railing, and the deck is empty again. But not normal. Empty like a nightmare, just walked off. Ropes come off. Hands numb from pressure start shaking. Someone collapses onto the steel, breathing like they've just swum up from the ocean floor. Someone stares at the horizon, eyes red, still not believing they're alive. Sirius Star is released on January 9th, 2009, after being seized since November 15th, 2008, long enough to turn any human into a prisoner of fear. And at the time, the ransom reported by many outlets is around $3 million. No movie-style rescue, no heroic raid, just a cold ending, money in exchange for silence, and a ship moving away like a steel beast freed from a grip. Here's the quick decode. 3 sharp cuts. 1, hit far offshore. Outside the zone people assume is safe. 2, hostages are the lock. With innocents on deck, guns turn the strongest forces into can't risk it. 3, a giant target triggers global shock. A supertanker seized is a psychological strike on sea lanes. If you want real cases told like blockbusters, tight, fast, no rambling, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. Every next episode will be harsher, closer, and more intense. And now it's your turn. If you were the captain on Sirius Star and guns were already on deck, would you lock down and hold, or open up and negotiate to save your crew? And if you were the decision maker outside, would you pay ransom to save lives, or refuse to avoid setting a precedent, knowing every passing hour is life and death? Drop your choice in the comments. I'm reading them all. And the next case, we go even harder.
You tell them to pay the money now, Captain. We are losing patience.
This is the Sirius Star to all stations.
Secure.
Repeat, we are secure and proceeding unassisted.
Over.